But we have several partners, and this is very important in such moments when we want to gain support. And I am honored to give floor to Shawnna von Blixen, Finecke, advisor and of the Council of the Baltic Sea States, and she's now in Riga, I think for the third time. She's going to tell us a couple of words from the international perspective and what processes we go through in Latvia.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me with you today. I think many of you at this point have seen either me or my colleague Olivia presenting about Barnahus at some point. But in case you haven't met us yet, we represent the Council of the Baltic Sea States. It's an intergovernmental organization with all of the EU member states around the Baltic Sea, plus Norway and Iceland as members. Latvia is then, of course, a member. I work in the Children's Rights Unit, where I have two hats. First, as the advisor to our expert group of senior representatives from our member states who meet to agree on joint actions on children at risk. One of our priorities is to promote good practice from this region, which leads me to the second hat that I wear, and that is as the coordinator of the Barnahus network. And I'll say more about the network when you hear from me later today. But what you need to know now is that in this role as the coordinator, I spent a lot of time listening to our colleagues from all over Europe and beyond about their practice in Barnahus and their challenges and their solutions to those challenges. And based on what we hear, we're able to offer trainings, consultations, develop new tools and resources, and we have the knowledge and experience to connect you to others around Europe and, frankly, around the globe who can support your ongoing development. And from all of this listening that we do, something that defines the Barnahus network in Europe that I encourage you to keep in mind throughout your discussions today and the months and years to come is that the work to effectively implement Barnahus is never done. One reason why is that providing protection, justice, and recovery services organized under one roof is a highly specialized service. Another reason is that when you're implementing this model in your own country, you are innovating. Your innovation is, of course, guided by the experience of many other countries who have been joining you on this journey, and also the Barnahus quality standards, which we published in 2017. But to make the model truly fit for purpose in your country, it means that the Latvian Barnahus is like no other. Throughout Europe, we see that the early days of operating Barnahus has a steep learning curve. When you first start, countries usually don't have all of the elements of the Barnahus quality standards in place. It takes time to demonstrate the benefits of the model, to fully gain the trust and understanding and buy-in from all of the actors who need to take part. It can also be a process to welcome all types of cases of violence to Barnahus. Many Barnahus around Europe start with just sexual violence. And for many, it takes time to have the space and resources to integrate all of the relevant services. It is quite common, for example, for health to come in later in the process. And here's the thing. Even once you have all of the elements in place, developing a cohesive team, a good feedback culture, learning the new professional roles and responsibilities and boundaries, adjusting to this new way of working, this is a process that you go through at the beginning when you start working the Barnahus way. But you also, we hear from throughout Europe, go through it again when you add new team members and when you expand to different types of cases. And you go through this again because it takes time to fully internalize the why and how of working in the Barnahus way, the why and how of working in the Latvian Barnahus way. And it's only once you get started that you start to see things that you couldn't have anticipated. Gaps in procedure, gaps in policy. And so you start working as a team to identify those gaps, to conceptualize how to fill those gaps, to advocate for the resources and changes that you need to fill those gaps, to develop new ways of working continually. I recently spoke at the 10-year anniversary of Barnahus in Denmark, and this is just an example of this that I've been talking about this morning in practice. They were presenting the results of a recent pilot of a therapeutic approach called TFCBT, and they announced that they were ready to roll it out nationally because the pilot was successful. They were discussing the wording in their own national law on Barnahus, specifically the difference between the meaning of the law and the current practice. They were also discussing upcoming changes of the law to help lessen the gap between the meaning of the law and the current practice. I found out that they were planning to open up new locations, even though they had already recently opened up one more location. And the entire day was dedicated to supporting national collaboration, common understanding, and learning. So I hope this is just a glimpse of what your work may look like in a few years. You may have a law in place, your setup may be fully established and embedded in your system, but there's still work to do. I'm sure this sounds familiar to many of you in the room today, and I hope that you feel encouraged and reassured that you are, in fact, on the right path. And with that, I'm ready to listen to today's discussions, not only so I can take important learnings back to the European level and share with everyone else, but also so I can, later today, contribute with the European experience into your own discussions. Thank you so much.